I'm standing here with Pieter Hooimeijer. What is your role at the...
I'm chairing the Social Science Division at our national funding organization.
We just had Grip on Complexity, a conference which basically came after 5 years ago when it started. What happened 5 years ago?
Well, there was a very enthusiastic community that really believed that complexity could make a difference and wanted to show the added value. They had a very close contact with one another across disciplines. And Pieter Verster was very adamant that they needed funding to make sure that they could prove that complexity does have an added.
And those were different kind of scientists, I mean from different industries.
They were biologists, economists, sociologists, and people from medicine, neuroscience in particular.
So people who normally don't speak each other's language.
Well, that was the point, because they were all working on small world networks, which is a mathematical term on specific networks that you find in society, but also in the brain. So they had a very convincing case that they came up with something that might be worthwhile.
And then what happened next? So you're in one of the funding organizations. So how much funding did they get?
Well, what they did is they came up with a larger plan, which they provided not just to the social sciences, but also to the division on mathematics and informatics. And we sort of teamed up and said, well, okay, we're going to fund them. And we make sure that they get...
How much did they get?
Well, I think it's slightly over 5 million.
Slightly over 5 million. And what happened after 5 years? Where are they now?
Well, the first thing is that they moved from promises to evidence. And I think that's a crucial step. Because the first was only promises, actually. And it was a huge risk for the funding organizations to move along with that, because most of the funding is either self-organized, people come up with brilliant ideas.
One scientist coming up with a PhD idea.
Or the other way is you have the large social challenges, which are going to be funded to larger communities. And this was a special community. There were only two. There was the one working on neurocognition that came up with something that was different, and the ones on complexity.
How did they do 5 years later? We have now 15 projects here which basically got funding. What are the results?
Well, it's enormous diversity, obviously, because they're all from very different disciplines. So you find some very advanced results in biology, on food webs, and on the shifts in vegetation, early warning signals that ecosystems are at the point of transition. Now the new applications are from innovation science and other applied things, financial aspects. So you find that, for instance, the research on the financial system is one of the first that actually addresses...
That draw the attention, huh?
Yeah, that brought the attention. So I think, well, the next step would be, I mean, so far it's been a very much a scientific community. They didn't interact with anything like public governance or business administration. Some of the applications are in business administration and public governance, but they didn't address the part of the stakeholder.
But we saw people here from the Nederlandse Bank and we saw people here from ASML. What do you think is the next step?
I think the next step is showing, on the basis of the 15 projects that they've had so far, that they could actually have some added value into the grand challenges that you would have, both at the level of corporate and at the level of the governance and public governance. Now, that's the next step.
You said, and they said, well, we want 20 million, and he said, if I had 20 million, I wouldn't give it to you.
No, they didn't say, we want 20 million. They said, we have a dream of 20 million. And I said, well, dream on.
Yeah, but you said, if I had 20 million, I wouldn't give it to complexity.
No, not on the basis of that sort of questions. If you want something, you come up with a plan. You say, I got a brilliant idea. Would you like to fund me? You're not going to funding institutions, whether they're from the national institutions, whether they're from corporate business or whether they're from public, saying, we're good, give us money. You have to come up with a plan.
But you will listen to the plan.
Definitely.
Thank you.